Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to be talking about BitTrip presents Runner 2 Future Legend of Rhythmalion, or more commonly known as Runner 2. This is a game that has recently released on Switch, and I'm quite happy about this because I love the Runner series. And I have this on Wii U. It came out on Wii U as well as PC, I think, back in the day, and has been ported to many other things. And it recently came to Switch. It's about £7, and it is a awesome music game. I have covered some of the Runner stuff on this channel before. I think Runner 3 when that came out, but Runner 2, out of the three Runner games, is probably my favourite. So what is it? It's an infinite runner game where your character automatically moves from left to right, and you input actions, but you're not just doing that, you're doing it to the music. This is basically an infinite runner musical game platformer. It's probably the best way I can describe it. But essentially you're playing as Commander Video, or one of many unlockable characters, and you are making your way through different levels and challenges, all while trying to create, to the beat. And while you're doing that, and as the game ramps up, you get more and more action. So you start off by jumping, then ducking, then kicking, then blocking, and then you get other actions like going around a hamster wheel type thing, and then going in these other things with button pushes. The game constantly throws new things at you. But I like this game a lot. I like the BitTrip games anyway. Runner was probably my favourite of the original BitTrip games, that and Beat. And this was the only part of those that actually really got not a spin-off, but its own sort of series, if you like. So when they announced Runner 2 originally and it was coming to Wii U, I was really excited because I loved the first one. They've gone for a 3D art style now. And the first game is very tough. Very, very, very tough. It's a one hit, you fail, you go back to the start. Whereas at least in the second game and the third game, going forward, they added in checkpoints, which you can choose to ignore if you wish. But the way the games work are you essentially trying to get to the end of the goal while collecting gold, while collecting these little pluses that increase the music. Because this game is all about its music. It absolutely loves its music, and that's the main focus really, is that you're there playing through these levels and learning these challenges, but all the while the music never gets annoying, the music never gets frustrating, because of the way it's layered. The way it works is you start off in hyper, I think. You go hyper, mega, super, ultra, extra, I think is how it works. And every time you go up a stage, the music changes. So it's in layers. So it starts off not too much going on, then you get the next stage, you add some instruments, you get the next stage, you add some instruments. And this happens until you hit the extra. And when you hit extra, you get this really almost like calm version of the track. Very much like, oh, you're doing, because it keeps ramping up and getting more intense. You hit extra and it's like, oh, you're near the end of the level, but it also adds this like level of calmness to it after this crazy ducking and dodging through the levels and stuff. So the music itself is layered up. So every time you hit a plus thing, bam, the next layer of the music comes in. And the way the game works for the most part, and where all of the runner games works, is that they kind of use the same theme. You will hear in the game that the main title screen is kind of what they use throughout every single track. Every single bit of music is a spin on that theme, pretty much. And specifically in this game, one of the tracks, which is known, I think, as... It's got a very strange name. It's called Wet Fart Cheese Funk, I think is the name of it, which is one of my favourite pieces of music in the game. It uses an electric piano and stuff. That build process that it has in the game is phenomenal, and it's super, super awesome. The music itself is by Petrified Productions, which I think is one person, because I think I think it's Matthew Harwood who did the third game, but he's under that as his name. So, and then you have Disaster Piece, who's a chiptune person who does the retro levels, which we'll come back to in a minute. But overall, like, this game is just incredible fun. It is challenging. This is not an easy game. The thing with it is that you have to not just complete the level. If you want to get the next sort of high score, you have to get all the gold, so that's a perfect run. If you want to get perfect plus on a level, you then have to fire yourself out of a cannon and get a bullseye on a target, which can be kind of easy, kind of not, depending on timing. And the game just keeps doing that. So there's like layers to the gameplay. It's like, yeah, you can complete a level, now go back and collect all the gold, now go back and collect the bullseye at the end. On top of that, there is a high score online leaderboard, which is primarily affected by how much you can dance in a level while collecting all the gold, while getting the bullseye, also jumping over the checkpoints and not using them. It's mad, the layers of this game. what starts off as quite a simple, oh, this is quite a nice simple rhythm game, gets very complex very quickly and has a ton of replay value. So what do you get in this game? So you get about 100 levels, just regular levels, roughly about that. And then you also get 25 or 30 retro levels, and the retro levels are inspired by 8-bit, they're inspired by Atari, and essentially they're very much like Pitfall, the old game, like that kind of thing. They are found in levels, and you can replay those once you find them. I'm not sure if they unlock anything, but they are there. They're very challenging. So you've got about 25, like I said, 25 to 30 of those levels on top of the regular levels. On top of that, you have unlockable characters, all kind of weird characters. You've got Reverse Merman, who's like the head of a fish, body of a human, very odd looking thing. You've got a pickle you can play as. You've got Commander Video, Commander Girl Video, I think her name is. A ton of different characters, retro Commander Video. So that's awesome. Fun to unlock them. You get a ton of costumes. There's like chests in the level you have to go after. They're sometimes locked behind harder challenge paths in the level. And that's one thing that's really cool about this, is that a sign will come up saying like, oh, you can take the bottom route, that's the normal route, but there's also a hard route if you want to go this way. And the hard routes usually lead to, here's a chest, here's some kind of unlockable. It rewards you for taking that challenge, which is great. And this game overall is just it's just a ton of content in a very small game. Each level is no longer at max probably than 2 minutes. So like you might have a 2-minute level, then you're on to the next one. Sometimes quicker than that. And so you can jump in, play a few levels, jump out. The game does ramp up quite significantly in difficulty. This is not an easy game. Like the first world is very easy to see what you're doing and very easy to see the challenges. And as the game goes on, they use different color palettes and things like that. The last 2 worlds are very, very takes a lot of concentration, and that is probably one of the only negatives I have to say about the game. Is if you're like me and you're somebody who is colorblind, you might struggle with some of the color palettes in this game, because the thing is, because you're always moving to the right, I choose to look in front of my character, whoever I'm playing as. So I look slightly in front of them to see what's coming up, and then that coupled with the rhythm of the game and knowing when to jump and do all the different actions can really help. But the last 2 worlds are very, very heavy on visual effects and certain colours, and it makes it very difficult to see where your character is all the time. I know it's done on purpose to increase that challenge, but it is tough. I would say as well, in the later worlds, don't play this game for play it in short bursts, sort of half an hour to an hour, no more than that, simply because it will mess with your eyes. It's just one of those things. I understand that it's just the nature of what this type of game is, but it is whoa, my eyeballs are going funny. And those are very minor things though. They don't affect how good the game is or anything like that. It genuinely is an awesome rhythm game, and it's one of my favorite rhythm games I've ever played, just because it's just that addictive gameplay. As soon as you mess up, you're back to the checkpoint, you're back to the thing, off you go again. A lot of these games that people go on about that are I use Celeste as an example. that kind of, oh, you die, you respawn really quickly, you get back into a level. That kind of mentality, but this is obviously way before then. But same with Meat Boy. Any kind of game that has you constantly retrying areas, that's kind of what this game is, except that for me, on a personal level, this is more fun because it's got that musical accompaniment to it, and it loves its music so much. Had this game not been a rhythm game, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much as I do, but because it has that, it really adds to the whole experience, and you feel like an absolute beast when you get through a level, you get all the gold, especially the later worlds. You're I didn't bonk anything, I literally got the checkpoint, I got from start to finish, I got all the gold. You get the bullseye at the end, and it's awesome. It's a game that really teaches you how to learn pattern recognition and figuring out what all the tricks of the trade are in it, being able to slide, jump through things, kick things, bounce on things. There's so much going on. And I really, really appreciate what this game is. I'm not really into infinite runners. I probably wouldn't be into a lot of other infinite runners, but musically, it's so good, and that's really what carries the game. Once you start seeing that, oh, every time I avoid an enemy, every time I collect gold, it's sending bleeps and bloops to the music and adding to the background music on top of you collecting these pluses that is also increasing the intensity of the music. It's so much fun. I really, really appreciate that all 3 Bit Trip games, or Bit Trip Runner games, are on Switch now. I believe they're on PC and probably on other consoles as well. But for me personally, it's oh, I've got the collection of 3 very good games here. I also recommend that people, if anyone's interested in the Bit Trip games, to start with Bit Trip 2. Runner 2. because Runner 2 is, in my opinion, the best one. But it's a good combination of what the third one is and what the first one is. The first game is very difficult, much more difficult than the second one, in my opinion. And you don't have checkpoints, whereas the second one has checkpoints and difficulty settings. And then the third one, as much as I love the third one, it does get very complicated. There's a ton more actions. You've got vehicle-based things. This is a nice middle ground where it's like an improvement on the first game with elements like that rolled over into the third game. So it's a really good place to start if you're looking to get into the Runner series. And honestly, like, I sit here and gush all day about this game. I absolutely love Runner 2. I think it's so much fun. It's also really like charming, the cutscenes. You got Charles Martinet, who was the old voice of Mario, doing those voiceovers. Very silly, very tongue-in-cheek. Lots of references in the names of the levels, the different things. This game is very silly, and it knows it's very silly, but my god, is it so much fun to play. It's very addictive. It has that kind of gameplay of like, I'll just try one more time, I'll just try one more time, and like 20 minutes has gone by, and you've played like 2 or 3 levels because, you know, you're trying to get all the gold, you're trying to get all the unlockables, all that sort of stuff. So I really appreciate what they've done by bringing this to Switch. Like I said, I've already played this game back when it came on Wii U, but because it's come to Switch, it's $6.99 in the UK. I'm like, that is a steal for what is essentially one of my favourite indie games. So it's like, oh, so good. Anyway, hopefully that's enough gushing about this game. But hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I will probably do more on these games. I think I'd like to do that because I think they deserve to have the recognition. Runner 3 has some of my favourite difficulty settings in it, but that's a story that I probably brought up multiple times on the channel. But yeah, that'll do it for me today then, guys. Thank you very much for watching, as always. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content like this, then hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description, as always. And until next video, I will see you then.